Hello, and welcome to a special promotional video in celebration of the 110th anniversary of the founding of the Victor Talking Machine Company, of which is better known by a subsequent name, the RCA Victor Company. On October 3rd, 1901, out of a series of legal and patent battles, Eldridge Johnson founded the Victor Talking Machine Company. During the company's 28-year history, before being sold to RCA, the Radio Corporation of America, 600,078 RPM shellac-phonograph-records would be sold. Victor would also be prominent among technological changes when in 1925, the acoustic recording horn was replaced with the electric microphone, in which the frequency of phonograph recordings would expand 2.5 octaves. Victor also had its famous trademark, the His Master's Voice logo, in which Nipper the dog would forever be listening to a phonograph recording of his owner. Along with rival companies such as Edison and Columbia, Victor would come to dominate the early years of home entertainment. From 1901 to 1929, Victor had a roster of some of the best-known recording artists of the period. At the turn of the 20th century, it was 3 Victor artists that were the popular hit makers of the day, including March King John Philip Sousa's band, ragtime baritone singer Arthur Collins,
Swing, babe. Swing, babe. Ever up your honey to the Michigan glide. Side to the side, dance to the bride. Keep a soppa, go, babe. Keep a soppa, oh, babe. Gazing through my glimmers when you're ragging with me. And be keep a soppa, rag, baby.
and ragtime banjo virtuoso Bess Osman. Also during the first decade of the 20th century, Enrico Caruso would become the best-selling Victor artist until the early 1920s, due to his recordings of opera, including his most famous role, Pagliacci. Victor would continue its success into the 1910s with some of the first barbershop recording acts, such as Billy Murray's American Quartet.
You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave.
And tenor Henry Burr's Peerless Quartet.
Sisters and brothers, what a sacrifice they made. I saw one-legged pals coming home to their guns in my dream of the big
During the World War I years, Victor would begin to record patriotic numbers, and one of the first whacks for Victor in 1914 was It's a Long Way to Tipperary by Irish tenor John McCormick.
It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know.
In early 1917, Victor became the first label to release a jazz recording. It wasn't the first to record jazz, since that honor goes to Columbia, but the sessions by the New Orleans Combo, the original Dixieland jazz band, would forever revolutionize popular music for decades to come. By the beginning of the 1920s, jazz records would remain top sellers for Victor, but in an orchestral and arranged style, including Paul Whiteman, and the Benson Orchestra of Chicago. By the 1920s, even earlier hitmakers, such as tenor Henry Burr, fell out of favor with the record-buying public. One of Burr's last popular recordings, from 1927, Are You Lonesome Tonight, would become a hit once again in 1960 by RCA Victor artist Elvis Presley.
Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart?
Before the Victor Talking Machine Company was sold to RCA in 1929, popular song standards from the Great American Songbook and Red Hot jazz music were top sellers, including Marion Harris.
Someday he'll come along, the man I love, and he'll be big and strong, the man I love.
And Duke Ellington. After RCA bought the Victor Talking Machine Company in 1929, a new chapter would begin for Victor, with the big swing bands of the 1930s and 1940s, the crooners and rock and rollers of the 1950s and 1960s, the rock artists of the 1970s, and the pop artists that continue recording for RCA to this day.
The Marmola baritone sings The Song I Love.